What's up, y'all? Let's talk Sacramento Kings at 4. I made a video about Houston, and then the video got cut off, and I'll talk about Houston some other time. But I really want to talk about Sacramento because this seems to be where everyone's identified as a serious kind of pivot point for really the entire rest of the draft after the Kings at 4. No one knows what they're going to do. They got a ton of options. They've already proven to us that they're a bit of a crackhead front office in terms of just making some totally unexpected moves with the Halliburton for Sabonis trade before the deadline. So no one really knows what's going on behind closed doors in Sacramento. Obviously, that trade would imply a sort of win now mentality, more or less, even though they didn't really win at a better rate since acquiring Sabonis. But now, with an offseason, it seemed like him and Fox gelled pretty well offensively, and now it's a matter of finding the pieces around those two kind of, franchise cornerstone-ish. I say that relatively speaking. And, obviously with them being so offensively gifted and leaving a little bit more to be desired on the other end of the ball, I would, if I'm Sacramento, I'm looking for, number one, someone to pair with Sabonis in the front court, likely someone that, can guard the perimeter, someone that can space the floor offensively. You're looking at a prototype of, a John Collins. He's not going to give you much defensively, but that kind of offensively, can shoot the three ball at a pretty good rate. Or someone like, Robert Covington just got extended by Clippers. I kind of identified him as a decent trade target, but, depending on the offer, obviously you take a step up. You look at a guy like Jeremy Grant, who can give you some size on the wing, a little more defensive, even though, in Detroit he was much more of an offensive threat, and defense didn't really matter for a team that's rebuilding. So yeah, Jeremy Grant obviously has been on the trading block, but he's in the last year of his contract. Will the Kings, extend him? Is that a guy you want long term necessarily? So with this fourth pick, really anything's on the table. They could trade down a bit, just to 5 or 6 if they like one of the prospects that are kind of projected around there, and just get another asset, whether it's, a role player and, pick a couple down from them, or a future first, or they could try and trade up, which seems less likely. But if, they fall in love with Paolo Banchero, who could fit that, front court, secondary slot next to Sabonis. And even, I don't see Chet really, mortgaging your future for Chet if you're Sacramento. Jabari could see completely as, someone that you could pair with Sabonis, but obviously to get that, you'd probably need the number one to get Jabari, and I don't know if the Kings have the kind of assets to make a move like that unless they're willing to put, multiple first-round picks, including the 4th overall, to move up. I think that's the only thing that Orlando would even consider. So trading up, not likely. Trading down, maybe. The other option, completely trading out of it if they feel, a guy like Jeremy Grant, I don't think is worth a top 5 pick personally. So that might be a trade back scenario. The problem is the Pistons are right behind them at 5. So the Pistons, maybe to move one slot up to get a guy they probably already get anyway, doesn't make a ton of sense. And, in terms of win now players, defensive wings on the trading block, not common. Everyone needs these wing defenders. Everyone needs these 3-and-D kind of prototypical guys. And so it's going to cost you a lot to get one of them. And so, maybe you pair the 4th with Davion Mitchell if it's a team that's looking to rebuild. Harrison Barnes, I don't think moves the needle a ton in terms of trying to, he'll get something. You'll get something for him, especially if it's a contender. But he's also in the last year of his contract. And so, don't expect to hear, a blockbuster trade involving Harrison Barnes where he's the best player in the deal. So, and you assume Sabonis and Fox are off the table. maybe you're not safe to assume that given the Kings' history, but it seems like that it's fair to say. You can assume Rashawn Holmes is on the block because of his, decline in playing time. Doesn't fit with Sabonis. So there's that. You have Holmes, Barnes. Maybe you float Davion Mitchell. I'm not sure how many teams are that excited about the prospect of Davion Mitchell. The point guard position in general seems, to be pretty set for most teams, outside of maybe a backup point guard here and there. So what do the Kings do here? Now, I'll outline a plan that I think kind of checks a lot of the boxes. Now, obviously, it's all, projection. It's not anything that can be proven long term. That's just the nature of these things. You can't prove anything. So if I'm the Kings, you can assume at 4, Paolo's gone, Jabari's gone, Chet's gone. And that's the reality. Trading up probably will cost you too much, and I don't know if it's really going to contribute to your win now kind of mindset as a franchise. So if I'm Sacramento, the kind of people mostly mocked in that general area, we're talking Jaden Ivey, we're talking Shaedon Sharpe, we're talking Keegan Murray. I've even seen someone say AJ Griffin, which I'm not sure about given some of the injury history he's had, and I'm not sure that's the guy you want it for. But just throw that out there. And if you look at these guys, Shaedon Sharpe is obviously, I think everyone can agree, the most kind of unknown wild card type guy. Didn't play in college. We don't know what he'll look like for, against NBA competition. We don't know what he looked like against college competition. So he's obviously a wild card. If you're Sacramento, I would stay away from that. If you're doing this win now thing, you can want to gamble on a guy that hasn't played in a year and a half. Don't love that. I understand the high ceiling thing, but I think Sacramento right now, you're going to take a more known prospect over rolling the dice on a high ceiling, low floor kind of guy. So I would take him out. Now you look at Jaden Ivey, you look at Keegan Murray. Jaden Ivey has drawn comparisons to Ja Morant, obviously very athletic, great in transition, can shoot the ball some, leaves a little bit on the table defensively. But overall, seems like an NBA-ready prospect. And Keegan Murray as well, a little bit older and, scored the basketball at an incredible rate in college at Iowa, can post up, can hit the three. He shot like 90. He shot 39% from three his sophomore season. Also great in transition and gives you, some defensive, is a plus defender generally. He's got the size and length to be on the wing. There might be some questions about, his speed and agility, but overall seems like really solid, a little bit older, a little more, refined game offensively. And so if I'm looking at those two for Sacramento, I'm in a win now situation. I already have De'Aaron Fox. I think the fit is Keegan Murray right now, personally. I think not the best value at 4. I think if they could trade back, someone's in love with Jaden Ivey, someone wants to gamble on Sharpe, you say, all right, go for it. If you want them, take our pick. It would probably be Ivey, I would think, most likely if someone's trading up. You move back 1 or 2, you get an extra asset. Maybe, it's a second rounder later. Maybe it's a future first. It's probably going to be highly protected. But you get something. Maybe it's just a role player. Maybe it's, a rando that could contribute. It's just a solid guy on your second team. Whatever, you trade back 1 or 2 and you take Keegan Murray. I think Jaden Ivey doesn't make sense with De'Aaron Fox. I think if Halliburton, they couldn't figure that out, and Halliburton's better off ball than it seems Jaden Ivey would be, and Halliburton's better defensively than Ivey probably will be. So if they can't figure that out, I do not trust them to figure out a Fox-Ivey backcourt in which both seem kind of be, need the ball in their hands a lot and, not the best defensively just in terms of, size and strength and trying to defend some of the best point guards and shooting guards in the league. And that's why, Keegan Murray, I think, gives them a little defensive edge. If you listen to his interviews, he's talked about he's willing to play whatever role it takes. If he's going to play, 30 minutes and take 2 shots, he's willing to do that. I think that kind of mentality would be huge for a Sacramento team that's so offensively minded, currently. And having a guy like that that's willing to get in the trenches, is that's winning basketball, and that can offset some of the other, offensive things that Sacramento can bring. And it's not going to be the flashiest pick. It's not going to be the sexiest pick, but the Kings don't need that right now. They need to be grounded. They need to win now, apparently. They want to make the playoffs, at least the play-in this year. I think Keegan Murray is the best way to do it. Feel free to disagree. This is all, again, conjecture. No one knows what's going to happen. No one knows how good these guys are. I might look really silly, right? In a year from now, I might look really smart. Who knows? But I took a stance. You got to give me that at least. I think Sacramento, Keegan Murray, that's the way to go. Let me know what you think. But for now, take it easy. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you next time.